welcome everyone to Computer Fundamental Fridays. This is Friday, November 22nd, 2019, and today's going to be a little kind of a shorter training than we've had in the previous trainings for Foxit Phantom Pdf, and the reason being is kind of creating things from scratch is kind of what really could lead you off to do a whole lot of different things. Kind of wanted to just do some introductory stuff with it to show exactly what it can do from the beginning, kind of give you a layout of what it is, how it functions, and what you can expect to do with it. It does have some nuances to it, but for the most part it achieves quite a few things that you would want it to do or perform for you. We'll go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to start off with our Computer Fundamental Fridays disclaimer. Essentially, it just states that I may not be able to go through everything as intended in this training. If I can't, then I'll certainly make that up. As well as if there are questions that don't pertain particularly to this subject, just like some of the prior trainings, it was kind of creating PDFs versus doing what we're going to do today, which is converting taking a Word document, converting it into a PDF, and then adding fields and certain things. So the kind of the topic at hand is what we'll stick to. And if I can't answer any questions that are asked, I'll certainly get back with you, and we'll definitely overcome those and learn together. Pretty much all applications, we all have a fundamental basis of what to do with them, how to perform certain tasks and whatnot. And some of them, just like Foxit Phantom PDF, I'll use it maybe a couple weeks out of maybe every 4 or 5 months or so, and then put it down and don't use it for another 4 or 5 months or so. But all in all, it doesn't really change too dramatically, and you can usually pick it up kind of where you left it off. But there are always updates and things that change, and new layouts and new versions and whatnot. So there's always things to learn for sure. All right, so if you don't currently have the Foxit, let me go ahead and add a slide here. If you do not have the Foxit Phantom PDF software, let me insert text box. All you will want to do is submit a ticket, and I will increase the size on this. Whoops, got too many periods in there. You will just want to go to the service desk and submit a ticket. That web address is simply servicedesk.tndagc.org. And not for sure how soon it will be before the application gets pushed out to your computer. We do have a few people out this week traveling and deploying equipment throughout district offices, but once we get the ticket, we can certainly work on getting that pushed out. We may actually have another technician doing that now. So all right, let's go ahead and get started. This is Foxit Phantom PDF. If you are not familiar with this application, this one is not a reader. It allows you to create, modify existing PDFs or import documents, spreadsheets, things of that nature, anything that is a Word document, etc., or a document from the Office suite. You can essentially utilize this application to import the information, make changes to it, and then convert it, save it as a PDF, and use it as a PDF that you desire. So it could be a fillable PDF, it could be a PDF with signatures, all sorts of additional fields that we'll get into. But what we'll want to do on this training, I have a Word document that I'm just wanting to pretty much just take the existing line field. So this is a paper document that was created and designed solely for the purpose of being a hard copy paper document. Well, I'm wanting to change that. I'm wanting to take some of the fields and wanting to make this a digital document. So whenever you have the Foxit Phantom PDF application open, all of your kind of the controls and the groupings for them, you'll notice in the tabs, if you click on any of these, you'll have various things that you can do, different functions that will be performed through it. We're going to, on this selection, we are going to want to click on the Convert tab, and we're going to want to convert a file from its existing format into a format that Foxit Phantom PDF can use, which will then in turn be PDF. So I'm going to click on the From Files. So we're in the Convert tab. We click on the From Files button. And we're just going to select From File since it is only a single document, although it's multiple pages, but it is not like 2 or 3 different documents with a variety of page amounts. So we're going to go ahead, click on From File. This opens up File Explorer, allows you to go to the source of where the file is located at, and I'm going to choose this AWS policy. Click Open. You can see at the bottom right-hand corner it is converting that Word document into a PDF that the Phantom PDF software can use. In the beginning, you probably won't have the grid shown or anything, so you always want to get things set up, and things may reset even after you work inside the application, close the application down, relaunch it, open up a different file. You may not always have some of the same selections, just like this rulers. I really like it because whenever I'm creating any of these, I really like to see the positioning for the text. And this one, for some reason, it just does not stay. So you'll want to get familiar with the View tab and apply the options there that you want to see. The grid one is nice because it does give you clarity on horizontal alignment and then also vertical alignment. It gives you those segments. You can see where the ruler is up top. Definitely not the best way to read it, but when you're trying to create something that you're going to modify and edit, it gives you a lot of advantages to working with it. So I'm going to, bottom right hand corner, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And you can see here, this is pretty much a plain document. Let me get rid of the grid for now. And I'm going to get rid of that. So you've definitely got bullet points, normal text, underlines. You can edit any of this information that you want to. Kind of depends on what it is. And let's say if we did want to edit, let's say we have this home office space. I'll click on Edit, and depending on what it is, object may be the selection, but it will enable you to modify, say, the bullet point, the underscore or underline, and a variety of things that that do apply but not necessarily apply to text. So if I click on Edit Text, you'll see there is and it's probably hard to see on your end, but there is a line that shows, let me scroll out a little bit, shows all of the text that I can directly edit whenever the Edit Text button is applied. So say if I wanted to modify this home office space, let me just zoom in a little bit. We could click right in there, and if I backspace, you can see that the line stays there. So we would need to edit object on that. And that really applied some crazy looking text there. Don't ask me why it did that. I have no idea. So I'm going to change that. So I would just take it and highlight that. I can see up in the font box that it did change it to symbol. However, I'm just going to change this. I think it's Arial, but I could be, yeah. So let's just change that. Not really a big point, but this is another thing you'll probably run into with the application. Kind of has a mind of its own whenever that occurs. So let's see if that will apply. It may actually not. Okay. Let's delete and let's just change it from here then. So instead of having the text there, highlighting it, and then being able to change it up top, let me see if I can do it from the actual text down below here. In theory, it should work. However, it may not. Times New Roman. Okay. So it has a few instances with that. So we'll want to change it right here in the beginning. Yeah, still keeping it. I can't say I've run into this prior to today. Don't really edit. I usually create things from scratch. Let's do edit object. And even from the beginning, still keeps that as symbol. Okay. So let me see if I can change it from here. Okay, so it changed it using the edit object versus edit text. So some of the nuances with that. So that may not make total sense. Let me just get rid of that. And then I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to space this out, and we'll get into the form part here in just a second. So I'm essentially just spacing that out, and then I'm wanting to get rid of this underscore or this underline, and I'm going to click on the edit object, but instead of, well, it does allow me all. You may want to change it to image, and then it should, if I click on that, nope, let me change it to all, and okay, there we go. So you have to kind of really dig around sometimes to see exactly what it's wanting. The edit, and maybe it was a shape, and I chose image, so that might have been my mistake. So maybe it's shape that you'll want to do. Yeah, so it is. Make the selection for shape, and then any shape that's on there should allow you to get rid of. Although the circle or the bullet point doesn't look like it allows you to make any changes with that. So it's not a shading. Maybe that's an image. Let's see if that's the case. Nope. Let's click all. Okay, that says that is an object. But okay, so just maybe it's best to just keep all selected if you definitely have any concerns. Okay, so we'll go with that. All right, so we got a few changes there. Any questions about anything up to this point?
No.
No.
All right, let me close this out. Okay, so now we're going to go, say if you have a document, you scanned it, this is your document, and you're wanting to go to those form field areas or the place where normally your printed signature would be placed. This is within the document. This is kind of what we are wanting to do. We're wanting to take this, what was a Word document, we're going to want to change and make this a fillable PDF. So we're going to do the same thing because in the PDF, we're essentially going to want to get rid of the underline because the PDF that we are going to include the form fields on, we will want that to host it, and we'll want it to be static. And a Word, some of you may have used Word before to create form fields. It works pretty well. The only challenge with it is if you use a form field, it's not a static box or anything. It's kind of dynamic. It will always increase in size. It will do things that essentially kind of hinder your ability to create a document that is always the same size or has the same layout. Whereas with Foxit Phantom, it gives you a lot of advantages over that. So we'll go back up. We'll click on, let's see if shape does it this time. We'll edit shape. We'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of you. Get rid of a couple of these additional ones. Now I want to try to find, okay, here we go. So we have 3 lines. And you'll see here that instead of instead of it applying that whole line, it kind of broke it down a little bit. So it made 2 lines. So I had to delete the first one. And all I'm doing is just clicking the mouse on it. Now this one it still broke that down into two different objects or shapes. So we'll get rid of that one. And you'll definitely want to just make sure that you are, and you can see up here I was in the Edit tab, and then after I select that, it goes to the Format tab, and then after that, it takes me right back to Home. So that's another thing that I also don't like about some of the efficiencies with it, is that it does make you go back up. If you needed to change that, you would have to click on the tab, a different tab, to get right back to where you were. So that's just another thing with it. So, okay. So I think we're where we should be. We can see where they're, actually it's a little harder to see, but I guess after each numbered indentation we can know that that was where the form field should go. So we got this looking more like just a standard document, no actual fields, at least on page number 5. So we'll go right back in, and I'm going to click on the Form tab. And from here, we're pretty much just going to use the text field. You could, within this, if there were certain sections, use some of these added fields. I know Lori was on the call a couple of weeks ago, and we went through some of these added buttons and some of the things that you can do with them. For this call, we'll just keep it to the text field. And what you want to do is just click on the Form tab, then click on the text field, and after you do that, then this is where your grid comes into help, because you can see that it gives you a little better peek at the alignment and where things will be placed. However, you don't have to keep it there if you don't want to. We'll go back to Form, and you want to keep it in the same size of the text. Let me see exactly what this is. So we are at Arial, looks like 8.04. So it's kind of a tight font. So you would want that font to apply to your form so that it doesn't look like it's all crazy. We'll click Form, text field. I'm going to left click and drag all the way over here. I'm going to let go. Immediately here, this is where in the very beginning you want to get the properties set up for your first form field, because then all you have to do is copy that form field to all of the other areas within the document that you want it to be displayed. Because if you don't, the next one you create, it will have the default fields, and you'll have any changes that we make right now will not apply to the next one unless we do copy this one. So we're going to, first off, this is text field 0. If you want to name it like maybe employee name to give you better identification of it, feel free to do so. I just pretty much, for efficiency, I just leave it as it is. But you'll want to click on All Properties, and then after you do that, this is where you're going to want to make your changes as it applies to the font, to the box, to everything that you want it to operate and function and do. So first off, click on Appearance. It says Borders and Colors. This is where you'll definitely want to make some changes. So our line style, this applies to the box right now. We're going to want to change that. You can, of course, make it a dashed line, beveled, inset, or underline, which is what we want. The thickness of it can be applied right here, thin, medium, or thick. And then the color, this has no color right now, so if it's left like that with the question mark, it will continue to not apply an actual outline or that underline. So I'm going to want to click on that, and we'll make the selection for black. So you can see that over on the left-hand side that is applied to the text field 0 field. The text area here, you definitely want to make sure that you always change that because this is dynamic. It does a fairly decent job at applying the right one, but in this case we have the font size of 8.04, and it's probably going to make it at least 12 point, just because it also depends on the size of the wording in the box. So in our case, we'll want to go ahead and match it up. We'll just select 8 and text color, that applies that. And then also the font, it will always default to Helvetica, even though there is an option to apply any text that you want to as a default text. However, there's a glitch within the software that for some odd reason it does not keep that. So within here, if you know the font that you want, all you have to do is just begin by typing the name, and it should, okay, so you just type the first letter, then make the selection. It looks good. So we got an underline that will be thin, 8 point, and Arial. Any additional options, like once we get down to the multi-line where you're going to maybe want a paragraph answer, you want to make the selection for multi-line. But for the most part of everything else, we're going to keep this as it's currently selected. So we have, and let's show what this will look like real well. Let me do a couple others. This is where after you have all this, all you really have to do is just do a right click, copy, right click, paste. You can see here text field 0 is to the left, text field 1 is the new one, and it is a direct copy, same options, features as was applied to text field 0. And this is where I'm going to want to select the grid, and I'm going to try to match it up exactly as I see the previous one so they look to be identical to some extent. So that's fairly right. I think the right one's up a little higher. I think that's either way. So I currently have that copied to my clipboard. I'm just going to paste it, and I want to place it right in line with this. Now this also, before you get going too far into this, let's go ahead and save it, and then I'll apply some text into it, and I'm going to see if the text that the formatting that was selected, if it's going to match up with what we have on the document right now. So let's go ahead. I'm going to click on the little floppy disk to save it, and we'll point it to the desktop. We'll keep it named as it is. And now I'm going to open it in a browser. I use a browser instead of the application to open it up, just so I can get a little better idea of how it's going to look. And let me open that up. And I'm going to scroll to page 5. And hold on. Oh, okay. Filling a form field is not supported with the browser. Okay, I just changed default browser, so let me open up another browser. Or let me just use Chrome. Let me open it up in that. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's move this over. So if we zoom in here, let's take a look. It's a little faint, but can everyone see the form fields here?
Yes.
Got 3 of them there. A very faint pale purple it looks like. But this would be, of course, we're just wanting to test it. So this is the kind of the end result of the last save. So we'll just want to check it out. Let's go. So it looks like the text is pretty good. And we could, if you wanted the employee name to be dropped or lowered down a little bit so it's in line with the exact text, then all you'd really have to do is go back here, drop it down a little bit. Let's save it. We'll refresh the browser, and we will go back to page 5. Zoom in. Looks like that may be a little better.
Come here.
Go ahead. Okay. All right, so we've got those fields. Edison ID number, any other additional info that you want there. Next, we'll go back here. Let's say if we wanted this, I don't even know if this is where a text field should go, but say if it was, you could, of course, expand that out. You can adjust the size of it any way that you want. Makes it nice. Go ahead and expand it over here. And the same rules would apply for any of these other areas where you need that text box to be located. The next one that we're going to want to do is we're going to modify the current design or the box properties, and we're going to apply it down here where this was a multi-line kind of paragraph area. Let me get rid of that page number just a second. So if we click Edit All, get rid of the page number, we'll go back up to Form, and I have that copied. So I'm just going to press Control V on my keyboard to paste that. You will need that is another thing. I did not have the text field button pressed, and even though I pasted the item that I had copied to my computer's clipboard, it did not apply that. So you will need to click on whatever function or process you're wanting to be completed. If I clicked on checkbox and pressed Control V, nothing would happen, but since I had the field must match up with it, and pasting that will apply. So in this case, I think I just want a box, so we only want to get to the properties. We're going to change a few things with it because we want this one, since it is a multi-lined response, all I have to do is change the formatting of the font. Instead of it being a static 8-point, I'm going to go ahead and make it auto, and what that will do is that will free it up from always being that size. So if I have an area for 3 lines, if it turns out the person has a lot of additional things to state or say within that paragraph, the more they type, the smaller the text or the font will get. So we'll go ahead, I'm just going to right click on the text field, left click properties, go directly to appearance. I'm going to get rid of the underline. I could have actually, you could just have left it there, but then just make that no collar, and then nothing will apply. And we're going to keep the font the same. Font size, we're going to make that auto. And that will start off maybe about the same size, maybe a little larger, but then as more text gets typed into it, then it will shrink or reduce in size. So let's go ahead. That's all that we really want to do with it, other than we want to click on the Options tab and click Multi-Line. And you can always check these boxes and see exactly what you want to apply or change or modify with it. So line spacing, if you wanted more than single line, you could choose 1.5 lines, double lines, or exactly. So let's keep it single spacing. We want it pretty tight, and we'll close. And then here we'll just go ahead, left click, and adjust the box size. And we'll keep that as it is. We'll go ahead, we'll save that. And that was page 5. We'll go back to the browser. We'll reload. Go back down to page 5. So you can see that we have the box. Let's see how it turned out. So we've got it starting off here. So you can see that it is larger than the 8-point font. It's usually going to be the font and probably 12-point at the beginning. And then as you begin typing, or here, let me just copy this. Goes down until it reaches the end of the box. Will it then begin to reduce the size? And there we go. So I like it that it's dynamic and that it gives you options that it stays all on the page without having to go down or start. Like if we tried to do this in Microsoft Word, because the form fields are not static, it would take us down to the next page and then continue on and on. Whereas this, I like the fact that it does reduce the size of that, keeping your document intact and static, and it's not always moving around on you. It's a pretty nice feature of that. So that's that field. And let's say if we go back, not for sure really that since we just pretty much created or converted that Word document into this PDF, not really any additional things that we really need to modify to this. But really, if you have a Word document already that you're using, you're probably going to keep the same layout. Maybe it is just where the names and the information that does change that are not really going to be hard-coded into that document, you're going to change those into a fillable form field. And that's pretty much it. You can always add additional things to it, do a variety of things, but I think for this training I'm going to probably continue this on through potentially a good portion of December, just because I've been getting, this is the best feedback that we've had, as well as I've been conversing with additional staff outside of these calls regarding some of this. So I think we'll probably continue it through the month of December, and we'll get into some other things as well. And if you all are working on any document or anything that you would like to see occur with the document that you're using, if it's anything, if you, after watching this or going through this, and if you have the application and you've kind of checked some of the fields, some of the functions, some of the things that it can do, if you want or need any help putting things together, or if you'd like for me to put together a training, or even on these Friday trainings, just send me a quick question or comment or something my way, and I'm happy to put that together. And maybe we can just, instead of trying to do everything at once, maybe we can just break it down, and each weekly training, which will be recorded from this point forward, put them in, and maybe we can kind of focus in and do some advanced stuff as well, because I'm sure there's quite a few things that within the conversion, I mean, you can take a web page and convert that into create a PDF, and all sorts of additional things. And we'll certainly get into OCR, which does work rather well. There's some additional things that we could cover in on that as a specific topic of subject, primarily whenever you're scanning documents, hard copy documents at a multifunction, and not necessarily taking a kind of a blank or a freshly created Word document and converting it. You can see that it it processes and converts it fairly well. Not really a whole lot of issues with anything. Once you begin to scan paper documents on the multifunction into a PDF and then you import that or open it up in the Foxit Phantom PDF application, and then you run an OCR on it because you want to recognize the characters, you'll see some things that it does great at, and then other things that it does have some challenges with, and it's primarily because when you scan a document at the multifunction, it converts it. It is a PDF, but it's usually an image file, and there's an image static. You really can only look at it unless you have an image editor, and this is a PDF editor, so quite a few things that you may run into. But if you'd like to put something together in any of the other trainings, or if you've got a document you would like to work on during one of these trainings, feel free to send it my way, and I'll certainly put it on the board, and we'll get that actually utilized in one of the trainings. Maybe we can be maybe a little more productive with these, get things accomplished while we're training. But okay, does anyone have any comments, questions, or concerns about anything up to this point?
No.
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 I hear people outside my door saying no. Okay. I'm pretty loud, so it's easy to understand why. Okay, well, very good. Also, if you're working on anything and you would like to put together any of these, let me open up this grand jury presentment. We've got just a variety of different things. This was one. Oh no, this wasn't the one that I created. This was the one that I was asked to get some help on because of the no multi-line spacing. So this is the one, or is it? I think those are both the same ones. Yeah, those are the exact same ones. Sorry, let me open up my other folder. But essentially what I'm trying to get at is that if you have anything that you're working on that you'd like to see converted, or if you'd like a fillable PDF, just let me know. I'm happy to put together whatever it is that you're working on, try to make things a little more efficient for you. Let me see if I can find that real quick. D22, okay, here we go. Here's the one that I helped put together. So it's just a little different. You can see that it actually has the box. Not really too many things were modified. Let me go back to this. Whoops, let me resize you. And resize you. So not really a whole lot. I mean, there's no major images or anything like that being utilized in the document. Just taking the text that they had and wanted to just kind of sharpen it up a little bit, change the font, made it so that where they have the short narrative of a fence, that this whole area was not multi-line, and it just kind of ran into all of the other areas and wasn't, you can see the lines there. It wasn't actually spacing for them, so it kind of made things a little confusing to their recipients whenever they got things printed off. But just simple little process. The one thing I will point out is if you begin these by creating them from scratch, what you'll notice is you'll probably be moving some of this information around because you kind of need to know the flow and have a pretty much on paper already to really be able to put it together without any mistakes, because you'll be going through here and you'll probably need to adjust the size of it, maybe make things tighter in one area, and do a variety of things depending on exactly what you want the document to accomplish. But the nice thing is, see, it's pretty simple to do. We're able to squeeze in the driver license number and all of that in kind of a and get rid of some of the actual text that was on it. Just kind of clean it up. So anyways, happy to help you put together anything like this if you're looking at freeing up some time and keeping things a little more digital. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for your participation and for attending this week's training. If no one has any questions, I believe we are good to go. Everyone have a great weekend.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.